Okay, we're back. We got the our skeg in with a little bit of silicone. Like I said, that's just kind of an option that I'm going to try because this is the second time on this one I've had a little bit of water get in. So we'll see. That should seal her up. Okay, we just don't want to keep doing this. Okay. All right. Always good to take it apart and just put some grease on those gears. That's a service, really. Changing those bearings and that kind of thing, that's kind of a rebuild. But we can do another video one time about how to completely do that. We'll take apart one of these cartridges at a different date. Okay, so we want to put our propeller drive cartridge back in. Here it is. Okay, this is the rebuilt one. This one's all ready to go. It's got a nice smooth bearing in it. Everything's nice and clean. Got the O-ring on there to seal it. All we have to do is install it. So, same thing. Meshing gear is going to meet the gear that we fixed. I'm going to take my little grease gun here, or just get some out of a tube. Add a little grease to that bearing so the little teeth are full. Doesn't matter if it throws around inside there later, right? That doesn't matter. We're just going to pack that little tooth. She's all full of grease. Doesn't matter, okay? Maybe just to be safe, I'm going to just check, make sure that this screw is tight. Reasonable, right? Yeah, that's fine, okay. Now, before I put this in, same deal. I might have to take this apart again. So I want to do two things. I want to put a little bit of grease so that when I tighten this up, this O-ring doesn't wrinkle up. We want it to slip, right? Until it gets tight. A little bit of grease on the inside, right? Okay. Just give that a little wipe so you can see the O-ring's slippery. It's greasy. It's got grease on it, right? That means when it gets tight, it's not going to cause the O-ring to crinkle up because that'll make it leak, right? Okay. And to be
or dry out.
I put just a little dab of that Loctite or Loctite Never Sees. I'm going to put just a little bit on my threads just so I don't have any problem getting it apart again, right? Nothing worse than something that's expensive like this thing and you can't get it apart. Okay. All right. I'm going to gently slide this in. Now remember, we got a gear in there. We got a gear here. We may have to do a little bit of wiggling to get them to line up, right? So let's just slide it in gently. Okay, let's let it slide in on its own. Start threading. Okay, it might get tight before it goes all the way down. That means those little gears aren't lining up, right? It's not a big problem, okay? It's going, it's going. It seems to be okay, right? All right, we can turn this little shaft. And if we look up in here, by turning that, okay, we got a good mesh, right? The gears are turning each other. That's fine. We're going to get our little wrench. Don't have to go crazy with things, guys. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're working on things like this is brute force, right? It just doesn't take that much. It doesn't have to be super, super tight. It's just got to bottom out, right? So that it seats, the O-ring's all the way in there, and it's doing its thing, right? Okay, so we're just going to hold this down. Turn it till she won't turn anymore. I would say that's lots, right? I mean, I could stand there and stand on it, but we're just going to get it so tight we'll never get it off, okay? All right, that part's done. Want to put our prop back on? What do we have to do? Okay, couple steps. My little weed guard's going to sit back on there again. Keep the weed from getting caught between the propeller and the housing. Okay, we're going to put in our little shear pin, which they gave you one extra one in case. Okay, I'm going to slide it in that little hole. Up. That has to go in first, I guess. Okay, pass that in there so it's in the middle like that. Put our little weird gear back on here. Okay, grab another little Allen key. We can probably get that little bolt to come out. Okay, there's a little notch in here for that shaft, right? So we just want to kind of put it in reference. It's got to go like that. Okay. Okay, same deal. Kind of fanatical, but yep. Little tiny bit, just to touch it. Okay.
Little dab will do ya.
Doesn't take much, right? Just to help get it apart again, because if it happened once, it can happen again, right? Okay. Thread this back in here. Okay, same thing. It's just a little propeller. We don't have to go crazy making it tight, right? Just snug. That's good. It's not going anywhere, right? Okay. All right. I think we're good. Got that part on, our gears turning, everything looks okay. Okay, next spot, we reassemble the top, okay? Okay, remember we said left, right, we didn't want to mix them up, so we still don't want to mix them up. So we had, this is the right, this is the shaft, that part, sat in like this, okay? So like that, that's gonna go back in, and then our other side comes in, okay? All right, let me just look at the grease. You know what, it's greased, never hurts, right? Let's just throw a little bit on here. Back up those little teeth a little bit. Make everything happy. Oh, if all these jobs are clean, they never are. Okay. We're gonna very gently just work this back in. Just make sure she's going in straight so the threads catch fine. Okay, it started. Okay, same with the other side. Okay. Okay, this one. Doesn't go one way, it's going to go the other way. There we go. So I'm just trying to move this a little bit just to make sure our gears are meshing okay. Left side, right side. Give it a couple pedals before you tighten it all up so everything's nice and free. It's got to kind of find its own mesh, right? Okay, so yeah, you can see it's quite free. All right, I'm going to turn these in a little bit more. Don't force things, just let them work themselves in. Okay, we should be fine, right? Okay, we're going to get our little spanner wrench. Again, don't go crazy, right? Just snug them up, right? Find a couple pinholes, put your thumb on there. Just start tightening that up just until it stops. The O-ring does the tightening, right? The O-ring seals it, not muscle. A little bit more. It's not stopped yet, so it's not completely seated, right? There, it quit, right? Okay. Same thing to the other side. Okay, 1, 2. There, guys. Tighten off, right? Okay. Our whole drive line's back assembled. New bearings. Now listen. Nothing. I don't hear that rumbling. That rumbling's gone because all those bearings in there are nice and smooth and new again, okay? All right, that's perfect. All we got to do is put our cranks back on. Okay, remember, you're staring at your drive. Right arm goes to the right side, so we look on your crank. It's marked R, okay? This is a good idea, guys. From my cycling car, I used to be a competitive cyclist, so I kind of know the deal with these. Sometimes when you're pedaling, you'll hear a snap, 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 or creak. It's this hole being dry, okay? So when you take these off, just take your grease gun or a little bit on your finger, just put a little bit inside that hole. You just wipe a little bit in there. No more creak, no more snap. And a bicycle, after like a couple 100 kilometers, that drives you crazy. Okay, so a little bit on there. I'm gonna do the same thing here, just a little squirt. Just work that in there with my finger so it doesn't creak and groan and snap and crack. Put that back on. Okay, good. We're gonna put our little bolts back in. Okay. Doesn't matter which one. Okay, I'm gonna just carefully, same thing, a little bit of never sees, never bad idea. Just a dab, right? Let's put that back in there. Just make sure they go in straight, right? Maybe the wrong bolt. Let's try this one. There we go. So there may be a right hand, left hand bolt, but just if it doesn't want to go, there's something wrong, right? Okay, so here she goes. Don't have to make these really super tight, guys. Same thing, it gets hard to get them out, right? So just snug them up. You see it pulling it onto the shaft? That's what locks it on there. Good. Okay, I'm happy with that. Our other bolt goes in the other side. Allen key's just a tad bit rusty. By the way, guys, you never have. We've had it happen. So I get these little tool kit. I take it with us. We put it in our boat just in case. Just in case something did come apart, we can actually take this apart. Right? It's not that big a deal. Okay. Unlikely, but you don't want to get caught. Okay, let's snug this up a little. Okay, a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, I believe that's kind of it. And like I said, we listen. That's the way it should sound, guys. Quiet, smooth, everything working good, right? And it's starting to free up a little bit more, right? It's good. Works great. Okay, so that's done. So before we go for the day, we'll put that down, we can put it back in our boat. Let's just go over, for you guys, I think I'd never get around to it. Let's take a quick look at what we had here to get this done, okay? 2-pin little spanner wrench. You can buy this Canadian Tire or hardware store. Okay, it's pretty popular. This one was for taking grinder wheels off. You know, I think I paid like $6 for it, cheap. Or you can buy a really nice, big, fancy wrench from Berkeley, but they're $60. It's a kit, right? So you would get this. This can be purchased at a bicycle store. That's the crank puller, okay? Some of them don't have handles. You just put a socket on the end, okay? So they're not, pretty common thing, not a big deal, okay? Bicycle store, crank puller, one set, metric Allen keys, okay, take things apart. We had one Phillips screwdriver to take the screws out. We used a synthetic grease. Doesn't have to be in this fancy gun. That's just something I have. Any synthetic grease is great because it doesn't eat your O-rings, okay? It's good lubricant and it's waterproof. So perfect, okay? This is a good idea, okay? That is the Never Sees compound. Can be bought at any automotive store that does brakes, that kind of stuff. You can buy little tubes of it, so you don't have to buy a big can, right? This will last you the rest of your life, okay? Blue serviceable Loctite, okay? Blue serviceable Loctite. Make sure the bolts don't fall out, okay? Am I missing anything? I used, just in case you had a problem like ours where it had leaked a bit for the second time, we're going to make sure it doesn't leak again. This is marine grade silicone. Okay, you can buy that just about anywhere. Anybody that does boats, Canadian Tire, or hardware store, just marine grade just means that's what it's for, right? Marine applications, okay? Clear, transparent stuff, forms a little bead, kind of like a bonus gasket, right? Okay? And I think that's about it, right? Some shop rags. These instructions, like I said, it's a great help to have these, right? And you guys can see each step, every little part, the pieces that you need to buy. There's the gears, there's the bearings we replaced. We could call down to Dust King, right? And say, hey guys, you know, I need 2 lower transmission bearings. There's the number, they know. Or pop the bearing off, go to a hardware store like I do and say, can you spec this bearing? And they'll get them for you. And let's be honest, $5. It's maybe cheaper and faster just to do that, right? Okay, there's your lower drive unit, okay? The bad one that I took out, there it is, guys. And what I'm going to do a little bit later down in my basement is I'm going to disassemble this thing and I'm going to replace that bearing, you know, as many bearings in there that are probably all gone, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 bearings. The grease seal in there will be fine. So the same kind of thing. The most I'm going to pay to fix this is probably about 15 bucks, okay? This thing costs $60 US, so it's not a cheap little deal to just order a new cartridge. It's probably better to rebuild it, okay? But you can get a whole cartridge, okay? These are available online, guys. A little bit of hunting to find this. I'll try to find it, but it says on here the kayakfishingstore.com. That's probably where I found it, but Dust King drives are the same basic mechanism as native kayaks pedal drive in the US. So same parts. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same thing. Okay, I hope the video helped, guys. We'll take this apart another day. Don't forget, once a year, tear this thing apart, just open it up, put grease on those gears. If there's no water in it, put her back together and you're good to go, okay? But you gotta grease these, they get tired. All right, see ya.